Welcome everybody back to Friar Talk. Today, we're going to be talking about the Padres going after a left-handed pitcher. Now, they just signed Matsui, and we think they should tap back into the Japanese international market. We've seen a lot of pitchers come over from Japan, have a ton of success, and this offseason, we're seeing contracts. Well, we already saw Otani's contract. Yamamoto is rumored to be getting around $300 million, but there's a guy that is not expected to make as much, and he would fill the Padres' biggest need. Now, the top two lefties on the market are Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell. Both of them are expected to get, it seems like at least $25 million a year. Like, it seems probably even more for Snell now that we've seen a couple of these other contracts. But if the Padres were looking to kind of go a little bit lower and not sign a guy for quite as much, the main guy that they could go after is Shoto Imanaga. And he has really good stuff. He's a lefty. He has similar numbers to Kodai Senga. He's basically kind of like the left-handed version of Kodai Senga coming out in terms of like numbers, in terms of like his stuff and whatnot. But he's a guy that I think would be a really good fit for what the Padres need. They need a left-handed starter so desperately. They need outfielders and they need a left-handed starter. Those are the biggest needs. So this would fill one of them. It seems like, I mean, like we were looking at stuff. Some sites said that he would get 5 years, 85 million, 5 years, maybe like 100 million, but he's probably not going to be a 25 million a year price tag. So you'd be getting him on a little bit of like a discount, and you look at some of his stuff, and like he has great stuff from a pitching standpoint. He throws a mid-90s fastball. Other pitches are he has a splitter. Splitter's really really good. A slider, and then also a curveball. But overall, he's a player that could come to the Padres and kind of be a little bit cheaper and have similar to success than some of the other lefties that we've seen in San Diego. But Chase, you want to kind of get into what you've seen from Imanaga?
I mean, his stats kind of speak for himself. He's off a little like struggling in his early career. He had like one bad year. The main concern, I guess, would be is if you looked up his past. He had shoulder surgery back in 2020, and then 2021 was a shortened year. But in 2022 and this last year, they were the best seasons of his career. Like coming off 2 career years, I think it was like a 2.6 ERA and then like a 1.82 the season before. He doesn't strike out a ton of people, but it gets the job done. I think he sits around like a 10K per nine. He doesn't walk a ton. From what we've seen, I know a lot of people might be worried more like, okay, well, how is he going to translate over into the MLB? He's faced against the MLB players. I mean, he was the pitcher that pitched the last game of the WBC with Japan coming out with a win over the United States. So he's faced the lineup. He's faced top tier talent. Like I said, when you pitch in the WBC and your team wins with the combination of Otani and Sasaki, and you're the third guy there, you're the third best guy in Japan behind those two, you're doing pretty solid for yourselves. And if we continue looking at the track record of Japanese pitchers and their progression coming over to the United States, Shohei dominated pretty quickly. We saw Kodai Senga actually have a really good year. I know a lot of people were predicting him to be like above a 3.5 ERA, and I think he had a sub 3. He is a little bit on the older side, did have that shoulder surgery, but there hasn't been any other lingering problems. There has been no reports of, this guy's shoulder gets fatigued, he gets hurt halfway through the season like we did with Senga. He's a lefty. It fits our need. He's not going to be worth the most. We can get him on a cheaper contract and controllable for multiple years. I think it's a home run signing for the Padres. If you can get him and like maybe one other lefty starter that could just be like a swingman or kind of like depth piece, all for it. I don't really think I know Snelling is down there in the minors, but I just don't think he's ready. So having one more guy's depth would be perfect, but it would be a home run signing.
First things first, it is Chase's birthday. Chase is looking fresh. He's going out tonight. If your daughter is going out tonight, I'm sorry. All right, Chase is looking good. Happy birthday to you, Chase. For everyone else, please wish Chase a happy birthday. Another thing, Matt has to do a fantasy football punishment. So if this video gets, I'm gonna say an outrageous number. I'm gonna say an outrageous number. Let's say 500.
For those of you watching tomorrow, it's also Matt's birthday tomorrow.
Oh, there you go. Hey, I'll be sure to wish him. He's looking good right now too. I'll be sure to wish him a happy birthday.
But back to that
But
fantasy punishment.
back to it. So 250 likes, and we will upload Matt's fantasy football punishment on the channel. But back to your cash strap San Diego Padres. I think it's perfect. Shota. I mean, not only is it a really cool name, Shota Imanaga, but it's a guy that's not projected to get 250, 300 million, just like Yoshinobu Yamamoto. You look at the guy in terms of stuff plus, it's an advanced stat. I don't know if many of you guys know it, but of course, it's just talking about stuff, how good your stuff is, your breaking ball, all that. He led the WBC in stuff plus over guys like Yamamoto, Darvish, Otani, you name them, he beat them. His strike rate in Japan would have been a top 10 strike rate in the MLB at 68%. He's got multiple pitches, fastball, slider. If you think a sweeper is any different from a slider, then you can include a sweeper. But a curveball, a changeup, a lot of different pitches. And I think he's a great guy to have in the Padres rotation for 17.5 to 20 million. I don't really think you can go wrong. And yeah, he's 30. He's not necessarily young, but he's also not old. I'm sorry if you're 30 and I just called you old. You're not old yet. But in baseball, you would be old. But yeah, man, I mean, I think he can be a slam dunk pickup for the Padres. I think he fits right in. Last year, we know one of our lefty pitchers, the Cy Young winner himself, Blake Snell. Years previous, he had a little bit of trouble throwing strikes, and this is a totally different thing, right? Imanaga throws strikes at almost a 70% rate. So I mean, sure, when you do throw that many strikes, you're bound to have a few outings where you get rocked. But there's also going to be those outings where, hey, your bullpen's depleted. You just went 7 or 8 innings because you just threw so many strikes. And you were able to keep the ball down in the zone or on the corners of the zone, and you got yourself out of multiple jams because you were able to keep the ball in the zone for 70% of your outing. So I think that could be very, very beneficial for the Padres. But the most beneficial thing is he's a lefty, right? The guys in your rotation, I'm pretty sure every single guy you traded for in the Soto trade's a righty. Darvish is a righty. Musgrove is a righty. What do you need most in your rotation right now? You need a lefty. Probably not even just one lefty. You probably need 2 lefties because not only are you going to get away with only having 7 starters, you're not going to get away with having only 1 lefty. So I think it'd be very beneficial for them to sign Imanaga plus another lefty, and maybe we'll talk about another lefty here soon, but a guy that throws this many strikes, that has the stuff that he does, you pair him up with a pitching coach like Ruben Niebla, you might be able to bring the best out of him. And you're hoping he's a 3 or 4 starter. Of course, you want him to be a number 1 or number 2, but I'm not going to set expectations that high. Now, the thing with Imanaga is we might be waiting for him because it seems like everyone's waiting for Yamamoto to sign. Not Otani, because everyone knew Otani was going to blow whatever contract was the highest at the time out of the water. Everyone's waiting for Yamamoto to sign. And understandably so, he could get 250 to 300 million. Probably 300 million is probably going to come from one of the big market teams. But if we're going to compete with the big market team like the Dodgers, we're going to have to sign some guys that are like Imanaga, right? They can throw a lot of strikes. And the Dodgers, I feel like, have struggled more against lefties than righties. So he'd be a nice guy to have in your rotation. And of course, it's not just talking about beating the Dodgers. Of course, I want to beat the Dodgers because they piss me off. But yeah, man, I mean, this guy, I think you could plug him in. I think you feel comfortable plugging him into your rotation.
Yeah, I mean, you brought it up too about just him being a lefty and stuff. I mean, I think that's, if you look at the market, it's after him, it's like, oh God. Like it's bad. Like Rich Hill's one of the main names that comes up like way down there. But Wade Miley was a guy that we had kind of talked about in the past. Chase, unfortunately, he already signed with the Brewers. I don't know who like other depth kind of lefties would be. In my opinion, like the Padres have to get one of Montgomery, like Snell or Imanaga. It's like you have to get one. If you don't, it's like, okay, well, what are you gonna do? Just have straight righties? Like it's gonna be rough. But yeah, I love this idea of going after him. You brought up the stuff plus stat. That's something that shows like that it'll play in the MLB. And it's not like we haven't seen that. Like a lot of these signings where they're coming from the Japanese league, like they're good right off the bat. Like a lot of the players that have come from that league, like they immediately can pitch. So I don't know. I like it a lot. I think that it's something where like it just checks every single box. You get him with Ruben Niebla, Isaac, you're 100% right. Like he could be really good. And yeah, maybe the expectation is him to be a 3 or a 4, but he could easily exceed those expectations. And he's hopefully going to get less than 20 million if he signs with you. I say hopefully because we do have to wait to see what Yamamoto gets. Because if Yamamoto gets like 300 million over 10 years, right? Or I don't know. I mean, yeah, he could, right? Like, okay, well then what does Blake Snell get? He can't take less than 30 a year, right? You're like, okay. So let's say Montgomery's at like 28. Well, then like Imanaga might get like 24, 25. Like that's just how it goes up. So it becomes very interesting. I think you're right. It's going to take a while. So like, I don't think he's going to be off the market anytime soon, but it's all going to depend on what Yamamoto gets. And it did come out like maybe it's not 300 million, maybe it's less, maybe it's more like 250. We should all hope that's the case because else the Padres might be in a spot where it's really scary next year from a starting rotation. And if they're going to have a chance to be competitive, they have to get a lefty. That's my thought. Like they have to. That else it's just like, all right, dude, like I don't really see like where your strengths are like compared across the board when there's always been like question marks and there's now other holes in your lineup that are worse than last year. Like even if Fernando goes crazy, even if Manny bounces back and Xander bounce back, right? It's like, okay, well, you still might not be that good, even if all of them are good with the roster you currently have. So I think it's huge if they get a lefty. Matsui, obviously, 6 signing. If they go and get Imanaga, that would be fantastic. But that's kind of all I got. Chase Isaac. What else? What else are you thinking?
This is just going to be a throw in there because we're talking about it earlier. And Isaac's the one that sent it to the group chat. Let's sign Luis Patino back and get him under Niebla. I'd like to see a project. And if he figures it out, he figures it out. If not, I think he could be a great setup, man. Either or. Let's get him.
Yeah, so quite frankly, when I sent that, Chase did say, hey, let's get him back. We can fix him. And Matt agreed. And I proceeded to call him toxic because that's like the toxic X kind of thing, right?
I didn't really agree. I was just like, all right, cool.
Him with Niebla could be nasty. That's all I'm going to say. Let the man do his job.
Hey, I was rooting for that guy, man. If he can come and actually do something cool with the Padres, I mean, I'd get a Patino jersey. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say regarding Imanaga. I think the Padres, again, like I called them earlier, your cash-strapped San Diego Padres. I think Imanaga should be in play considering your budget. I don't really have anything else to say though. I think they can compete if they're able to use their money correctly. You guys talked about Matsui the other day. Although it's not technically confirmed, it seems like it's almost a done deal. Knock on wood, right? Because I really want him. I think he'd be a great addition for the Padres. But other than that, Chase is going to go enjoy his birthday tonight, December 20th. Matt's going to go enjoy it today, because I'm assuming this video will be uploaded tomorrow. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great birthday. I hope the rest of you guys have a great day. Go Padres.
All right, y'all. We'll talk to you soon. I'm not sure what else we're posting this week, but we'll come up with stuff. If there's anyone you want us to talk about, let us know. We obviously had the video about the Padres just being screwed, and we said, hey, be patient. Some people got mad. Some people got super mad about it. It was like, it's a pretty realistic question, man. Like you just saw everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong to start the offseason. Literally every possible thing. Besides, okay, I can't say this. I don't want something bad to happen. I was gonna say besides something going on with Fernando again, but I'm not gonna bring that up. All right. So that would oh god. But yeah. All right, guys. But that's gonna do it. We talked about Matsui. Yeah. If there's anyone else, we kind of mentioned Cody Bellinger. Like it's just kind of a wait and see right now. So we'll talk about stuff. I want us to eventually talk about Fernando in center field because I think they have to do that. And I don't think everyone's on board with that, but I do want to kind of give my piece of why I think that's a must, you must do that. So, but yeah, that's kind of what we got coming up. Let us know if there's anything specifically you want us to talk about. But yeah, thank you all and have a great rest of your weekend.